My graduation thesis, entitled Sexism in the Italian Language, the Linguistic Representation of Women, aims at recognizing, highlighting and analyzing some sexist forms in the Italian language and showing their impact on mental processes. According to the most common social representations, men are powerful, while women are weaker individuals in need of protection. These are simplified and generalizing images affecting the world vision of millions of people and influencing their perceptions and behaviors. Social studies define these mental representation stereotypes, that is to say, the knowledge structures that relate certain social categories to specific characteristics through probabilistic associations. Gender discrimination that still today, and not only in Italy, sees women disadvantaged compared to men in the working, social and economic environment, mainly manifests itself in the way they are represented through language. For centuries, men were the absolute parameter around which the linguistic universe revolved. The concept of linguistic sexism was born around the 60s-70s in the United States, following the observation of the lack of linguistic forms able to represent women in keeping with the society to which they belonged. Women from all walks of life began therefore to highlight how language and its use were discriminatory against the female gender. Italy dealt with this issue with considerable delay. In 1987, the Italian Prime Minister's office financed the pioneering work of Alma Sabatini, Il sessismo nella lingua italiana, whose aim was raising the issue on linguistic sexism in the Italian language and proposing alternative forms. Language plays, therefore, a fundamental role in the social construction of reality, as well as of the male and female gender identity. Numerous anthropologists, from Humboldt to Wirth, try to prove over time, through their hypotheses and experiments, how a language can influence the perception of the reality in which we live. The relation between the linguistic code and the world perception represents a binding agreement, where language is an extremely limiting element, imposes on us a certain world vision. The question that I asked myself while writing this thesis is if the Italian language or the way speakers use it is sexist. We can say with certainty that the Italian language is not sexist, since it offers the necessary means to equally denote both genders. What is sexist is the norm, that currently reflects an androcentric society dominated by prejudice and stereotypes, and it is the use of particular male terms describing women that makes the speakers believe that a gender is more important than the other one. From the analysis conducted, it emerged that speakers use of masculine generics to refer indistinctly both to women and men. However, differently from what we may think, this is not a linguistic simplification, but a serious cultural problem in that, in some cases, the numerical inferiority of women in the social and political life is reflected in the language. It also emerged an equally considerable use of male professional titles that are widely preferred to the equivalent female form. In fact, if on one hand the women are obtaining increasing participation and inclusion in society, on the other there is still widespread reluctance to recognize, and not only from a linguistic viewpoint, these positions, and call them by their name. Today's society, albeit not equal in terms of gender, has significantly changed compared to the past. In Italy, if you have an appointment with a doctor, an engineer, a president, a minister, or an architect, you will no longer be surprised to discover that the person in question is a woman. Indeed, this insistence only reveals an obsolete conception of gender equality, that which required women's homologation to the male model in terms of the way they dressed, acted, and expressed themselves. However, if only we women began identifying ourselves with a female form of a position held in the job market, we would have made a small, albeit important step forward, also through language, towards eliminating the atavistic subordination of women's roles, because language is neither neutral nor is its use innocent. To the question, is it possible to modify language, there is neither a single nor a certain answer. I think that the only way in which language may really change and respect the social evolution is through a conscious and responsible use of it. Who replies, in many cases with no sexist intent, that caring about the representation of women in the language will not help us to achieve gender equality, should keep in mind the concept of strategic pluralism, according to which achieving something is only possible thanks and through the intervention of several people acting differently on different fronts, but with a common goal in mind. There is no need for a revolution. It would be enough if we try to understand the difference between choosing words casually and carefully.